Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. On this channel, we spend our time looking at fantasy of all sorts, from books to movies to video games, and applying the characters that we see within into the tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. Today, though, we're going to be looking at a core mechanic of Dungeons & Dragons itself. Specifically, we're going to be having a look at the Tempest Domain Cleric, one of the subclasses of the Cleric. The Tempest Domain looks into the storm within, finding the powers of wind, thunder, and lightning, and applying them all to the already powerful Cleric spell list and combat prowess. But how does it stack up in the big picture? Let's have a look. Now, as with all Clerics, they get an expanded spell list. These are 10 free spells that they get between levels 1 and 9, 2 for every 2 levels you go up, which they don't count against your spells known. So it's 10 free spells. The Tempest Domain Cleric gets some pretty good ones, too. Everything from Thunder Wave to Shatter to Call Lightning, Ice Storm, Insect Plague, all sorts of naturally very devastating spells. There's a few duds in there that don't really have a whole lot of usefulness, but I give the spell list a 7 out of 10. Definitely worth your salt when it comes to some of them. Now, on top of that, you also gain the bonus proficiencies of heavy armor and martial weapons. Basically meaning that instead of using medium armor and simple weapons, you're going to be using heavy armor and your favorite weapon, because the Tempest Domain Cleric is a tank. They are meant to be on the front lines, swinging their weapons, holding their shields, and using their heavy armor. This is a 10 out of 10 power, and you can't argue otherwise. The other thing they get at first level is known as Wrath of the Storm. A number of times per day equal to your Wisdom modifier. When an enemy causes damage to you, within 5 feet of you, so this is a melee ability, you can cause them to make a dexterity saving throw, and if they fail it, they take 2d8 lightning or thunder damage. This essentially means that the storm will strike down anyone who dares to hit you. And this is a very, very useful way to weaponize your reaction. It's really, really powerful at lower levels, and is helpful as a person on the front lines. I give this a very respectful 9 out of 10. At second level, you gain your Channel Divinity Destructive Wrath. By using your Channel Divinity, what you can do is you can maximize your damage dice whenever you use a spell that uses thunder or lightning damage. This is very, very useful. Now, it's a shame you have to use your Channel Divinity every time you do it, so you can only max your damage out once or twice per rest, but you do get to do a crap ton of damage, especially when you're talking about like the higher level spells like Lightning Bolts or, Destructive Wave, anything that would use thunder or lightning damage that makes you roll a bunch of dice. Now you get to max that out, and this counts if you upcast the spell too. So, for example, Lightning Bolt does 8d6 damage in a line. You upcast that to 5th level to do 10d6 damage. When you maximize that, you're doing 60 damage for a 5th level spell slot in a straight line 100 feet in front of you. So, very powerful when you want to be a spell caster. Obviously, the Tempest Domain leans a little more into martial combat, but who doesn't want to throw down an awesomely powerful Lightning Bolt? I give this one an 8 out of 10 for its power. Now, Thunderbolt Strike is your 6th level ability. This basically says whenever you deal lightning damage to a large or smaller creature, you can push it 10 feet away from you. Helpful when you're surrounded, and since a lot of your power is going to be lightning damage, this lets you just knock enemies around the battlefield. This is great if you want to knock someone off a cliff, push them away from a more squishy enemy or a squishy ally or someone who they're have really beating down, it gives you a good out and allows you to control the battlefield much better. It doesn't add extra damage or anything, but it certainly can be useful for tactical reasons. I give it 8 out of 10. Now at level 8, you get your Divine Strike. This allows you to add thunder damage to your melee attacks. This allows, or weapon attacks rather, which are probably going to be melee. 1d8 extra damage for free. Thunder damage whenever you attack. And at 14th level, that goes up to 2d8, so you're going to be doing a lot of extra damage. It's a shame that this doesn't stack with the Thunderbolt Strike, since Thunderbolt only applies to lightning damage, and the Divine Strike only applies to thunder damage. So, lightning damage for pushing people around, thunder damage for extra power. So at level 8, you can do both. It's a shame they don't overlap. The Divine Strike gets a 9 out of 10 nonetheless. It's really, really powerful. And then finally, at level 17, the capstone feature, Stormborn. As long as you can see the sky, so as long as you're not indoors or underground, you can fly. You have a flying speed equal to your walking speed, as the Stormborn part of you just lifts you off the ground, and there is no limit to this. As capstone features go, unlimited flight, as long as you're outdoors. You can't go better than an unlimited flying speed. This is 10 out of 10 territory with absolutely no question. When you crunch all the numbers together, the Tempest Domain Cleric is a very, very offensively based and melee-based character. A lot of their powers rely on being close up to enemies, but then you also have your Thunderbolts, you have your Lightning Strikes, you've got your Destructive Wrath. You've got all sorts of powers for long-range combat as well. So, really, the Tempest Domain can do it all, and then when they get to top power, they can fly. They are a 9 out of 10 cleric for sure. Not perfect, but definitely pretty close. Whether you want to attack close up, attack at range, or attack from the sky, the Tempest Domain Cleric has you covered. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes out for the final Cleric subclasses from the Player's Handbook coming up very, very soon. Have a good one, my friends.